And we are live. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We've got a bit of a special edition, bit of live stream here. Just it's gonna be a bit of a looser stream, bit of fun. We're gonna go through some topics. We're gonna talk about the NBA Finals. We'll talk about Kevin Durant trade that went down. Of course, we'll talk about the Pistons offseason, free agency, a little bit of draft, and then we'll also throughout the show, if anyone would like to join and come up and talk with me, I'm going to put the link at the top of the chat here. And all you have to do is copy and paste that, and you should be able to join the stream. I'll see if I can pin this. I can't, but I've just dropped the link in there. It's a StreamYard link. If you want to come up and chat, copy and paste that link into your browser, whether you're on your phone or computer, and I should be able to see you and bring you up on stage. But like I said, we're going to lead off here just talking about Game 7, the finals. Then we'll quickly do the Kevin Durant trade, and then it'll be all Pistons for the rest of the stream. Probably going to go for around an hour here, but yeah, would love to get everyone up here. I can see Kyle's joined. I'll get to him in just a moment. I'm pretty sure my man Devin's going to join when he's got some time. So anyone else would like to join, just one last time, hit that StreamYard link in the chat, copy and paste that across, and we'll bring you up here. But just quickly, my thoughts on Game 7 before I bring up Kyle. What a game. I mean, it's hard not to lead off with the Halliburton injury, what looks like an Achilles. I had just turned the game on just after that happened, but after going back and, I mean, ESPN replayed the injury about 30 times. So I've seen it. That looks, unfortunately, like an Achilles for the Pacers. That looks like now Halliburton's gone for next season, potentially. Jason Tatum is, Damian Lillard is, all in the East. Yeah, we'll talk about the Pistons' young core in a bit, but I mean, it's hard not to, as a Pistons fan, look at the East next season and just think, wow, that it's gotten more wide open. And I still think even without Halliburton, the Pacers will be a solid, like a really feisty team. Like, look at, they still took it right up into the Thunder until, halfway through that third quarter. And, I still think the Celtics, even if they have to get rid of Drew Holiday and probably Porzingis, like, I still think they're going to be a tough out on most nights, potentially. So it's just not hard. It's hard not to think about, what the East looks like next season. Just as of right now, we still have the full off season to play out. But that's just my first thoughts. My second thoughts were just watching this finals, how important team chemistry is, culture, and then having young athletic players that can play high minutes, can play physical, tough NBA basketball. Like, watching the Pacers and the pace they play at, no pun intended there. I know that it wasn't as fast paced as like some people make it out to be, but they just never give up. And then you have the Thunder, who I think they get away with a little bit defensively, but it's because they're just so physical that it gets to a point where you can't call every single play. That's just the thing that stood out to me, is like, wow, as a Pistons fan, and I look at our team, we have the makings of that, I believe. I know our play style might be a bit different, but we have a lot of those athletic young pieces in our core that I can see, with more maturing and development, kind of thriving at that level and making plays. And I'm not saying we're making the NBA Finals next season, but just across the next couple of years, it's only kind of reinforced my stance on just keeping this young core together. And, at least next season, seeing what, with Ivy back, what they can do, because I think it's definitely worth, after watching these two teams in the finals, 100% making sure that if you are going to move on from Jaden Ivey, or if it's Jalen Durant, I don't know who it is, just making 150% sure it can't work, because I just think the value of having young players, and our guys now have playoff experience, except for kind of Ivy, but I think it can only go up. And I'm just, yeah. I mean, as Derek here says, shout out to DJ McConnell. I must admit, the Pacers as well, like, I've said it on these streams a fair bit. They were the one team this season that I genuinely had formed a hatred for. But watching them, especially when they took down the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, my hatred quickly turned to respect. And players like TJ McConnell, obviously Halliburton, Pascal Siakam, and I mean like Nemhard, obviously, like they just have so many guys that can make plays and just play so hard and never give up. So they've got my respect. I was going for the Pacers today. I mean, shout out to the Thunder. I think once again, bring it back to being a Pistons fan, watching a team that is somewhat built from the ground up and then signed some big free agents in this offseason, or they signed Hartenstein and then made a trade for Caruso, for Giddy, like seeing them kind of make those moves at the right time, and watching it play out for an NBA championship is also, encouraging and a blueprint for the Pistons, for us to follow as Pistons fans. So, shout out to the Thunder. But I'm going to bring up Kyle because I think he's only got another 10 minutes maybe with me. So, I think he's actually driving home from somewhere. So let's see how this goes. Oh man, what's going on?
What up? Can you hear me?
Oh, you got your Pistons jersey on. Yeah, I can hear you.
Let's go. Yeah, I got my Ivies. I was at a Buffalo Wild Wings with some guys from my church, and we were watching it there. We're in the middle of Virginia, and there's some Pacers fans going crazy in there, but they were definitely sad towards the end.
Oh, I have to know, like, what was their reaction when Halliburton goes down
They
in the
were still.
first?
I didn't. I think. I don't know if they were on Twitter or anything. So like when he went down, I think there was a little bit of like, we don't know how bad this is going to be, kind of thing. So as the night went on, they were still in pretty good spirits. So the game was still close until like the fourth quarter. So like, but yeah, I didn't get to talk to them much. They were just kind of the other side of the bar or whatever. But yeah, it was interesting.
It was I remember Carl Anthony Towns a few seasons ago. It looked like an Achilles when he was on the Timberwolves, and it turned out to just be a calf strain. So I was like hopeful it was going to be that, but then obviously it was pretty quickly confirmed it's an Achilles. So, well, I don't think that's officially been announced, but I'm pretty certain it's an Achilles. I think his dad
came out. His dad came out and confirmed it, according to Mark Stein. But
yeah, so there you go.
You take that or leave it. I think they still have to do some tests on it, but it definitely doesn't look good for them, at least.
Yeah, it's like I feel for Halliburton, but I mean, as a Pistons fan, like, I don't know, maybe Kyle, I don't know, what would you like to talk about first, actually, because I know you don't have much longer here, but I was just going to say it's hard not to look ahead to the East next season. Like, respectfully, the Halliburton and the Pacers, like, I'm just like, it's hard not for me to be like, the East somehow just got more wide open, to me at least.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, and it makes me a little nervous, because now, like, let's say the Pistons do stand pat, which I think is still the most likely option. Like, they bring back all their guys. They give them a chance, at least at the trade deadline, to see can Ivy fit into the thing that they found, the second half of the season. Does he elevate it or does he take away? Is him and Asar and Durant too much of a spacing issue? Like, I think they're gonna give that a go, bring everybody back, maybe upgrade something on the margin if they can as like a backup four. But like, that's the most likely route. It's boring. We'll talk about some other stuff later. But like, betting money says that's what happens. But you could do that and then find yourself as like the 2 seed in the East, because the top 4 teams are all kind of looking at, other than maybe the Knicks, like, Orlando got better for sure, but like they were still the 7th seed, right? Like, they still have to figure things out.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, you could run it back, be the 2 seed, win a couple playoff rounds, and convince yourself this is the core that can do it. But then Tatum and Brown come back the next season, everyone's healthy again. It's like, crap, we're the 6th seed because we didn't make any moves to get better, and then you might have missed your window. So that's my concern, is that the weakened East will convince them they have fool's gold, rather than being able to see clearly, like, no, there's still a lot of holes on this team. Conversely, it gives them a chance to make a deep playoff run with the guys they have and then really get an eye to it. So I guess depends on how much you trust the front office to be able to see context and take the nuance into account. But anyway, so that was definitely my thought.
It is
And then my
interesting.
second thought was,
Yeah, keep going.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, it is interesting, like the point you make there, like now that it seemingly, like, I still think the Pacers and Celtics are still going to be like solid next season, but obviously they're missing their best players, so they're not tired contenders. But so it's easy. I get what you mean there about like how the front office could look and go, oh, well, it just got a bit weaker now, even more incentive to just, play it slow, make a marginal move, like you mentioned, with the backup four and so some other moves, whatever. And, let's see how far we can go. But this could be the season to really go for it. And not trade all the young guys, but maybe look to really push for a real upgrade in the starting lineup. I honestly, I'm team like keep the first round picks. Oh, well, you know who I'm talking about. Ron, Asar, Ivy. I want to see it at least until the trade deadline. I just think I want to be proven wrong that Cade and Ivy cannot work and it's time to move. Maybe that's not smart, but that's just where I'm at after watching this finals and playoffs.
Right. No, for sure, and that makes sense. And I think that's a reasonable stance to take. It's definitely it's hard, right? And I think the Pacers getting weaker only makes that calculus harder because the road to the finals in the East did just get that much easier. And
Yeah.
so if you think you're even close now, which is silly, we didn't even win one playoff round. Like we haven't won a series yet. So to think that they could have pushed into that, some would say maybe that's not fair, but we also didn't have Ivy or Stewart. So,
Yeah.
You take that or leave that. I think the other question that came up for me was, and I tweeted this out, again, kind of cold hearted, but like, are the Pacers still willing to go into the tax to keep Miles Turner, knowing that they're going to pay a whole year of that and not be as competitive?
Yeah.
And then you start getting into repeater tax and things like that. Like, they're already expensive without him, so they probably do. But like, does that make them more hesitant to get the number he wants? And is this kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back? In the same way the Celtics are now having to consider offers on Jaylen Brown. Like, last year, beginning of this year, we're like, okay, they're gonna run it out. They got deep pocket owners. They'll keep pressing until they have to blow it up. And now they're gonna have to. It doesn't make sense for them to stay above the second apron, and they might try to duck the tax entirely. Like, because, but maybe the Pacers going down, the Celtics changed their tactics and say, well, now without the Pacers, maybe we do try to see if Jaylen Brown and Derek White and Al Horford can get us there. Like, who knows? It's going to be fascinating. And I think like Halliburton's injury only confuses more what it could be, because I think it just changes the calculus on what teams think they can and can't do next year. And I could see Gore's talked about having a sense of urgency, that he said it a lot. And so if
Tom
Gore's
Gore, Pistons owner.
Owner, And so if he really puts pressure on Trajan, like, hey, there's a window here and we know Kate's the guy, let's go get someone to pair with him. Like, and you can do that without completely sacrificing all of your young guys, which I think would be the stipulation. It makes sense. It makes a little more sense than it did 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I really don't know what they're going to do.
It's weird. Like, we don't have a first round pick. We don't necessarily have, we're not coming off a season like last year where it's like, we've got to make moves. But it's like, I'm almost like the most intrigued I've ever been about an off season, just because of like, it's kind of like it's the safe option for the front office to do for their own job, and probably like the most risk free path is to just run it back, like we said, upgrade maybe THJ or maybe upgrade the backup four. That seems to be like the most risk-free path, but it's kind of like, well, if you look at the East, it's like maybe like I just wouldn't be surprised. I was actually going to talk about this later, but A team I've just got my eye on is the Pelicans, and that's because they obviously have Joe Dumars, but they have Troy Weaver. I don't know if for people that might have missed it, he's now their general manager. And
Yep.
for some reason, I'm just thinking about Troy's first. If you're bringing in Troy Weaver as your general manager, I feel like you are looking to acquire and find young talent at the top of the draft. And I remember what he did in his first draft with the Pistons. He traded he flipped that roster, and the roster was nowhere near as talented as what the Pelicans have now. But he got rid of Luke Kennard. He traded Bruce Brown for essentially nothing in the end. He drafted Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, and Killian Hayes all within like the first 20 picks. And I've just got my eye on them, and we have Trajan's links there. Like, come draft night, is that a team you could see potentially the Pistons looking to make a move with?
Yeah, I think it's definitely intriguing, and I actually messaged with some people about that, and because my concern was you got Joe Dumars and Troy Weaver who both run out of town. What's their?
We might have lost Kyle. Oh, I'll see.
Am I
I
good?
think he's back. Yeah, you're back.
Sorry.
You're back.
So my concern was, is there gonna be bad blood, and are you gonna be able to negotiate in good faith with them? So that was one side of it, but also there are connections and ties, and you got a lot of Troy's guys still on the roster. So that's my thing is like, I don't know how much Ivy was one of his guys, but Durant was his pick, right?
Yeah,
if you can
that
somehow
would be Troy
flip,
pick for sure.
if you can somehow turn, and I wouldn't want to do this for Tobias, but you might have to, but if you can go get Trey Murphy with Durant being the centerpiece, Durant plus some first and a bunch of seconds, you kind of have to consider that, right? Like, and that does put you at a glut kind of in that forward with Asar, Ron, and Tobias, whatever, right? But like, I mean, Ivy plus Durant gets you to Trey Murphy's salary.
Yeah.
You're trading Troy 2 of his guys plus some first round picks.
Yeah.
To get a guy that he didn't draft in Trey Murphy to begin with, like when he had a chance to, like, and that was one of Trajan's guys. I just wonder, like, because then you still have Asar. So you basically Asar starts at 2. You have Cade, Asar, Trey Murphy, and then Tobias, and then you go get a center. You go trade for Jared Allen. You go trade for Daniel Gafford. I think I proposed this in one of my tweets, like, or go sign Blake. See if you can get Brooke Lopez with the non-taxpayer, and you let Beasley walk, or you try to, whatever. Like, I just, like, that's, you got to consider that. You absolutely have to consider that.
It's going to be really interesting. Like, even like someone like Herb Jones. Like, I know Trey Murphy's the name everyone wants, but I could almost see him being like their most valuable asset. Maybe there's something there for Herb Jones that's not, you don't have to give up as much. He'll still cost a fair bit because of the value he has. But the Pelicans are just fascinating to me, especially for our Pistons with like just what we know as having Troy Weaver as the GM for 3 or 4 years, like, and how he works. Like, maybe he's learned some lessons from his run with the Pistons, but I could see them being very active draft night and Troy just looking to get a few lottery picks. And I want to, Kyle, we're hoping to have you on in the next week for a proper free agency off-season type thing. But while I've got you, I think you're the perfect person to just quickly go through the Pistons. Not that one. The Pistons. Oh, wrong one. The Pistons free agency options. Like, can you the names I just want to ask you about is Santi Aldama. We've got the thumbs up there. Bobby Portis and Jake LaRavia. More so those first 2. Because I just feel like those 3 names they align with that backup for most realistic outcome we could see happening this offseason. Could you just talk through the contracts and how that could affect the Pistons with what they have in the salary cap and that kind of thing, how that can affect their offseason?
Yeah. So basically, you said, Santi Aldama, did you say Bobby Portis?
Yes.
And then Jake LaRavia. So Santi Aldama would likely be a sign and trade. because I think he's going to want more than the non-taxpayer, and I'm not sure the Pistons want to give up Beasley for a backup for a guy who, I mean, and I'm not sure how much Aldama. The other question is, does Aldama want to sign somewhere else and be the backup?
Yeah.
Like, and that's a question that I have. Like, or is it like, hey, you're still going to play starter minutes, but you'll come off and whatever. Like, that's Bickerstaff's job to figure that out. But so I think the prediction for Aldama is somewhere between the non-taxpayer mid-level, and I think Hollinger had him at like a $25 million value is like his board dollars or whatever. But there's not a lot of people who can give him that. So like between 15 and 20 is probably what you're looking at. So the easiest way to make that happen is if they trade Fontecchio, for example, to Memphis or to a third team like the Nets or something. He fits into a lot of trade exceptions, so Tech can go kind of anywhere. You can give Aldama 16 point something million dollars in year one. It's basically like you can give him a 4-year, $72 million contract or something, 74, something like that. So that's a little more than the taxpayer mid-level or the non-taxpayer mid-level, and you give him 4 years. That's a huge bump from what he's getting now, and it saves Memphis about anywhere between $3.5 million to $11 million in cap room to negotiate with Jaren Jackson and do some other things. So I think that's a compelling package. So if you do that plus throw some seconds at Memphis or whoever needs to take Tech, I think that's possible to get it done. Then the question becomes: is Tobias comfortable coming off the bench? Like, is he willing to do that to make that work? Or that would be an interesting thing. I think Aldama would want some serious commitment to playing time, and he averaged like 25 minutes a night. So you have to kind of, for him to be wanting to do that, especially with Edey hurt, he's probably going to get some more run potentially next season. So I think that's just something you'll have to offer him either a lot of money or in a position to warrant that. So that's Aldama.
Just with Aldama quickly, say you offer the 4 years 72 and Fontecchio is part of a sign and trade to make that happen. Can they still re-sign Beasley with the taxpayer or non-taxpayer?
Yeah,
whatever that one
yeah,
is?
that's why you do it that way, so
Yeah.
that you can still keep Beasley.
Cool.
Or whoever else you want to get in there. It'd be basically using Tech to upgrade that position, which I think that's what they should be trying to do. And that kind of the same goes with so Bobby Portis is interesting. You're kind of hoping he would pick up that option, because most likely what it would be is he pick up the option and then extends off of that after the trade or as part of the trade. If he declines it, then you're basically having to use the non-taxpayer mid-level to go get him. And if sign and trade's tricky with Milwaukee because of their apron situation, like this is also why Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Naz Reid, like all of those guys, you basically can't pull off a sign and trade with any second apron teams, because they can't take money back in a deal where they're signing trades out, because it triggers the TPE sign and trade thing, and then they're hard capped at the second apron. So I'd have to get below that to make a deal, and so that's why it's challenging. You're probably not getting Alexander Walker, Naz Reid unless he opts into that. So Portis is kind of in that similar situation. It might be easier with the Bucks. I'm just, without having stuff in front of me, it's probably going to be him opting into that, and then you're extending off of that with like the 20% raises and things like that.
Yeah.
So that would be Portis. And then LaRavia, the Kings can only sign him for $5.1 million next year. And so he's almost for sure going somewhere else. But that also means you can probably get him for like $7 to $8 million a year.
Yeah.
And so
just quickly on LaRavia, the reason I've got him here is because someone wrote a feature on him. I can't remember. And he said he wants to go back to the Kings. I mean, he was always going to say that, but he mentioned the Pistons as a team he thinks he would fit on amongst a few others, which I thought was interesting. So you don't normally see that, or at least I haven't, but sorry to jump in there just for those that might have missed that.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, I saw that reporting. And he mentioned on when Keith Smith, they had him on the front office show, he mentioned like wanting to be on a a team that runs a lot, is fast paced, and is ready to compete. And that fits the Pistons. If he's kind of describing, a team that gets out on the fast break, and he kind of described what he likes to do. LaRavia probably can get can probably be had for about $8 million a year. Maybe you go 10 if you really need to, but there's again not a lot of teams. You kind of just got to see what people are willing to do. I was talking to I won't say who, but they were kind of like, maybe we can get LaRavia and Sam Merrill to, like we were talking about that. Can you get both of them? And
Yeah.
basically the only way to do that is you hopefully convince them to both take $7 million on a 3 to 4 year, getting the 5% raises, and then you can fit them into that, and the non-taxpayer, and you let Beasley walk. You get those
Yeah.
two guys. So that was another iteration, but I think that's a stretch. Probably that's kind of like the hope that we both take that. They're probably not going to both take a discount to be backups like that. So, but yeah, LaRavia is the easiest to get out of all of those, and he's a guy who likes to run and can shoot. So I don't hate that either. He's more of a 3, 4. He's probably I don't know for sure, but I think he's a little small to be like a true 4 if I remember right.
Yeah.
But I don't hate him as an option either.
I
But
think
he
he
feels a little
will.
redundant to Ron maybe in the long run. But
Yeah, and James, I agree. Carl's an excellent guest. Keep him on staff. I don't know about staff, but no, I'm hoping Carl and I are hoping to record an episode just before free agency kicks off, because I mean, for those that watch some of my other videos, I shout out Carl a lot as the salary cap guru for all Piston stuff. So, Carl, just remind people your handle and that kind of thing on Blue Sky and Twitter, because you're always putting out fake trades, and I know I go to your page all the time for stuff, anything Pistons related. So just let the people know quickly.
yeah, it's at Kyle Metz 23 on both. I haven't been on Blue Sky as much. I'm still kind of getting back into social media. I was overseas for several months, so I'm still just kind of getting now that I'm a little more acclimated and more settled back in. I'm trying to be a little more active with the off season ramping up, but that's where my stuff is.
No, for sure. And yeah, I was just gonna say with LaRavia, I think listening to Bryce Simon talk about him, I know Bryce is big on him. I think he would be like our backup he would fill that quite nicely, even if a little bit undersized. And Bryce seems to be high on him as a defender. So
Yeah.
well, not super high, but he thinks he could be viable there. So yeah. Is there any other, before I let you go, Kyle, and we go to Devin, is there any other names in free agency or anything you've been seeing or chatting to people about as it relates to our team, the Pistons?
Yeah, that's really good. I'm trying to think. I mean, Lauri Markkanen is always someone that people are intrigued by. Yeah, I think it would be very interesting to me to I think this would be like a fun off season. I don't know how realistic they have the assets to do it if they want to do it. Is how I put it. But in theory, they could go get Lauri and Aldama, and then your starting lineup is Cade, Asar, Lauri, Aldama, and Durant, and that would be fun as heck.
That's insane.
You're a little light. You're a little light on the defense in the front court, so that would be concerning. And maybe you flip Durant at that point for a more defensive minded center. But that would be a fun you go from being undersized to being oversized very quickly. So
yeah.
And then in that scenario, you could still technically keep Beasley. There's some things you could still basically keep everyone intact, from assuming no one goes crazy with the value. So that's something fun that I played around with. I think Aldama is definitely on the top of my list, just from having a true 7-footer that can float between the 4 or 5. I wish he was better at defense.
Yeah.
But then again, he's been playing next to Jaren Jackson, so maybe his role, sometimes he gets bumped up to the 3. So I don't know if that's just even he has to play out of position more, and so maybe that's why. But he's definitely more of an offensive guy, so he would be a good Tobias replacement. But then that goes back to, can you trust Durant? So yeah, I don't know. The last thing I'll say is, I think in terms of extensions, because I think
I was just going to ask you about this. You read my mind.
It's because I think it's part of free agency. I think I lean towards I think Ivy might be more gettable than people think, and it might be better to get him under contract. Like, I think he's going to be more amenable to sign a deal that's more of a team-friendly deal than Durant is. Whether that should be the case or not, I think Durant's going to want to see what his value is. And so I would be fine letting him get to restricted free agency or moving him now, especially in a Pelicans deal. Because I think Troy would overvalue him more than maybe some others. And so I think the chemistry between him and Cade is a little overblown. Like, Cade had ridiculous chemistry with Marvin Bagley and ridiculous chemistry with James Wiseman. Like, yes, Durant, it's a different level because they play together, but it's just chemistry. It's not because Durant is somehow a better finisher than those guys necessarily. He is really good at that. But I think if you can find a guy that can still jump and play defense, like Cade would have 85% of that same lob like chemistry as he does. So that's just something that might make the most sense in the long run. But that's kind of some of the things I'm thinking about. We'll talk more in detail, but that's kind of some ideas that I'm wondering about the extensions, and maybe you get Ivy's done because of the situation.
Yeah, it's the extensions are fascinating. If I just had to, I don't bet, but if I had to put money on it, for some reason, I feel like Ivy carries on to next season and they actually get a deal extension done with JD. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but that's just like if I had to put money on it, I feel like Ivy will carry over to restricted and JD, they come to an agreement. Maybe I'm completely wrong though, but
no, I think that's likely. Yeah, I think that's more likely, to be honest, but that concerns me because that means that the Pistons are giving him probably $25 million a year at least. Because I don't think Durant, and I don't think that's astronomically bad either for what it's worth. Like, based on a percentage of cap, like, that's not crazy. It really isn't. That's still less than what Şengün got. And Şengün's a different level player, but like, it puts him between like Nick Claxton and Zubac. It kind of puts him like right in the middle of those guys based on percentage of cap.
Do you remember what Hartenstein signed for roughly?
It's
just
like
annually?
$30 million. Yeah, like $30 million or something.
So
which Durant's going to average 30. If he gets a 4-year deal with the raises and everything, it'll be an average annual value of $30 million a year. Like, if he gets, that's like 16% of the cap or something at the beginning. So that's what worries me. What I'm saying is, like, if for Durant to agree to the extension, I think it's going to be more in his favor. And so that means it's probably not a market value. It's probably not a deal. And maybe I could be wrong, but he's getting at least what Stewart got, which was 11 or like almost 11% of the cap. So by the time his extension kicks in, that's still like 18 million. Okay, so like, baseline he's getting 18, which would be fine with me. Whereas, like, that's where I'm saying I think it's more likely they get it done, but it means that they gave him more what he wanted, because he has no incentive to sign that if he thinks he can get more on the open market next summer where there is more cap room available.
That's true.
So that's just something to keep in mind. And I'm hoping, I think getting Ivy done is more strategic, but I don't know that it does.
Yeah. Well, we'll save the rest for our chat when we get this locked in. But I appreciate you jumping on, Kyle. Full of knowledge as always. I know people in the chat have loved it. So thank you for jumping on, man. And we're going to get an episode put together in the next week, hopefully. So we'll be in touch.
Yeah. Missed this, bro. This is great. Can't wait for more. And I'll see you guys later at the next one.
Appreciate you, brother. Enjoy the rest of your night. All right. We're going to go to Devin. Sorry to keep you waiting, my man.
All good, man. How are you?
I'm good. Maybe let's start off with, because I know you're similar to me and like you're a big fan of keeping the team together. Let's talk about the Pistons' young core, and maybe I'll get your reaction first all to the NBA Finals. Thoughts on Game 7 tonight?
It was crazy. Definitely kind of how I thought it would go. Really sucks about Tyrese. That sucks, man. Like, as much as I, hate the Pacers and stuff like that, you had to see like injuries and stuff like that, obviously. So I think it was a really good game, really good series, and I'm glad that it went 7.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Tyrese thing, like I said it off the start, and we've spoken about, like, the pace has grinded my gears, like everything about them. But I mean, I don't know. So you don't want to see that happen to anyone. But just before we jump into this young core, if anyone else wants to join after Devon, I've dropped the link in the chat to come up on stage. It's towards the top. All you have to do is copy and paste that into your browser, and I'll be able to bring you up on stage after Devon. So if anyone wants to come up for a chat, we can talk about anything. But yeah, use that link, or you can DM me and I'll try and find it. But Devon, let's talk about this Pistons young core, because I'm not sure if you saw the start, but for me, like, one of my biggest takeaways from watching this finals specifically is just like the importance of having young, athletic talent that can play every 2-3 nights a physical brand of basketball and can get up and down the floor. Like, for me, it's like only kind of, whilst I'm very open to the fact, like, improvements needed from all the young core and they need to make moves. Maybe they need to upgrade THJ. Like, for me, it just reaffirmed my vision of, like, this young core, I still need it intact for next season. And I need to be proved that, like, Ivy and Cade can't work. I need to be proved that Asar and Durant cannot work before I'm making moves. But what's your kind of stance on the young core moving forward?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think definitely have to keep as many people as possible. Just because, like you said, like we haven't had enough evidence that it can't work. Just because we are still super, super young, we're athletic, we can play fast. Like you said, getting some like minor like upgrades definitely wouldn't hurt. But yeah, definitely, I think keeping our young core is super, super important this summer.
Yeah, it's is there a player in particular, like, watching these finals, of our young core? Like, obviously Cade's probably going to be the guy, but maybe apart from Cade, was there someone watching the finals and just, or even any of the playoffs, and just be like, man, wait 2 years for young player X on the Pistons? I could see him really making a name for himself in these, like, Eastern Conference finals or finals games. So someone that stuck out.
I think for sure Ivy, just because again we haven't seen him fully healthy in the playoffs. I think we would have seen a lot of that this year if he was healthy for the playoffs. I think not only do we beat New York if he's healthy and if Stu's healthy, but I think again him and Cade are just going to be crazy. I think they're going to be such a good duo next year. I cannot wait to see what they can do, and yeah, I think Ivy's going to be incredible.
I'm with you. I'm just like, I understand, like, with Jaden Ivey hasn't been on the team for, we didn't get to see him play for much of the successful part of the season. Obviously, didn't get to see him in the playoffs, but man, like, I tweeted something out the other day. We spoke about it on the stream, but, like, listen to some of the players. So Jaden Ivey, I put the stat filters to Jaden Ivey's career averages through 3 seasons of 16 points, 4 assists on 35% shooting from 3. Listen to the guards that have averaged that through their first 3 seasons.
Okay.
Steph Curry, Donovan Mitchell, Kyrie Irving, Damian Lillard, Brandon Roy, Steve Francis, LaMelo Ball, Damon Stoudemire, Jalen Williams, J-Dub. We just saw him win a championship. Darius Garland, Gilbert Arenas, and Tyrese Halliburton. Like, I know sometimes these stat filters can, like, sort of skew the stats, but
Yeah.
those there's some players in there, like, that resemble the way Ivy plays. Like, obviously, he's not going to be like a Tyrese Halliburton, but like a score first combo guard, like this Steve Francis, Damon Stoudemire, Gilbert Arenas. Like, I'm not saying he gets to all these players' levels, like Donovan Mitchell, but that list. There's a reason, like, that fans should be still very excited about Jaden Ivey. And, I feel like sometimes big men in the NBA, young big men, get a bit more leeway with their growth and development.
Right.
They get a bit of a longer path, but like Jaden Ivey, like, he came in and was thrown into being point guard as a rookie because Cade was out, which isn't his natural position. The Monty thing was with Monty Williams, like, Monty literally had him at, like, the bottom of his developmental list.
For some reason.
And then yeah, for some reason. And then this season, he was still a little bit inconsistent, but he shot 40% from 3. I know his finishing at the rim needs to improve, but I saw an improved handle and driving ability. He got to the free throw line. He was clutch. Like, sorry, I'm going on a tangent here, but I just think sometimes I feel at least the fan base is a little bit quick to move on from Ivy because he hasn't had, this amazing, I just think the fan base is a little bit quick to move on from JI when I see a player with quite a high ceiling there.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't get it, like wanting to move on so quick to someone. I mean, it's not like he's on year 10 and like not performing well and always hurt, stuff like that. It's like gotta give him time, and definitely like I know we're biased because we're obviously Pistons fans and we both love Ivy, but I just gotta give him time. I think he's gonna have a great year next year. I think he should be ready for opening night. And yeah, that's gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah, no, and I look, I think it's Daryl. Apologies. Ivy isn't good finishing at the rim, and he isn't. He needs to improve, but
Yeah,
I think he can improve that. I think, look at his improvement as a 3-point shooter. I mean, I think he just needs, sometimes on his drives a little bit rushed. But you're definitely right there. But and I'm not here saying Ivy has no flaws. I just feel like some.
Absolutely.
I think all the young guys have flaws. Like, look at Asar and Ron. That no one is going to guard them from 3 for a very long time.
Right.
But we can't. But I feel like sometimes people just I'm not trying to have a go at them, but I just feel like sometimes we're very quick to look at all Ivy's flaws and some of the other young players. We kind of ignore them, which I don't know. Anyway, I'm on too much of a tangent here. I want to get your thoughts, Devin, but yeah. I will say the one player that sticks out to me is Asar. And I mean, we saw his defense on Jalen Brunson in the playoffs. He's a guy, Ivy, I'm very excited for, but I think Asar is the other player for me. This will be his first NBA offseason, full offseason without injury, touch wood, that, we saw what his brother Amen was able to do with a full NBA offseason. What are your thoughts on Asar for next year?
I do agree as well. I think Asar is going to be crazy. I think with his defense and, like you said, having like a full offseason, being healthy, because he came back, it was like the beginning of the year, right? Because he was injured. I think definitely, yeah, super excited for him. I think his rebounding, his defense. I would like to see him score a little bit more. But I think that he's going to be fantastic too, especially with it fitting into like everyone too.
No, I agree with the scoring, and I think that's something I'm really excited to see. I'm still not expecting him to shoot, great from 3 next season. But I'm really excited to see his handle. What does that look like after 4th season? His finishing, because sometimes I think Asar misses some easy ones. Obviously, he can dunk a lot when he gets in there, but I'm really excited to see him as a playmaker next season. So, no, I love that you bring up the scoring with him, because I went back and watched the Game 5 highlights again against the Knicks when I was having lunch the other day. And that was a game where he was, a lot of his stuff was just play finishing, but he had like 20 points in Game 5. Was rebounding, played defense. And I was just like, man, when he's not in foul trouble, there's something really special there. Before, I can see Maddie's joined, so we'll get to Maddie after yourself, Devin. But I do have lined up here, we can talk about the draft. We can talk about any free agency, or is there any topics you want to cover before I let you go?
Not particular. I think, again, really hoping for Bobby Portis. I think he would be huge for us. I know I've been saying that since the playoffs ended. But yeah, really excited to see just in general, what moves we make. I'm checking ESPN and Instagram every other hour. It seems like, just to see if something crazy happens, kind of like Kevin Durant today, just seeing what we're going to do. And I'm curious to see, again, if we are going to keep our young core out of the big three, who we're gonna have with Beasley, and all of them. So really excited for this off season, and hope we definitely improve in some ways, but I don't want to switch it up too much.
Yeah, I'm aligned with you. We're team young core. Let's see what we've got. Because I think there's some But I'm super excited. Part of me is like, I'm excited that the NBA Finals is over. I know we've got no basketball, NBA basketball, but I'm like, now it's fully like all off season,
Right.
summer league, the draft. I love
Yep.
this stuff. I love it.
Same.
But Devin, thanks so much for jumping on, man. Appreciate you as always. And we'll chat very soon.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
No stress. Before I get to my man Matty, just want to shout out some people in the chat. Oh, King Curry 30, yo, what's up, Pistons Jack? Appreciate you, brother. We got Drake here. Speaking of floors, I think Ivy's floor for points per game is 20 next year. I think he can get there. I think he ended up averaging about 17.5 this season. Maybe he might take a while to warm up coming off a broken leg, but I think he can get to at least 18, 19, and 20 is definitely a reasonable number. King Curry, what's your opinion on KD? Okay, maybe we'll talk about this with Matty first on the KD trade. Yeah, appreciate everyone in the chat. We'll go through this towards the end after I have up Matty. Let's set this up here. Matty, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Jack, what's up?
Oh man, we're doing a live after Game 7. Just thought
Right.
get one going for the off season. I feel like I know we've had some trades which we'll talk about in a minute, but I feel like the off season officially kind of begins now with the finals officially done. So
yeah, I'm with you on that. The finals done. Now we're in just straight off season mode, you know.
Literally. Well, let's start here. I do want to quickly get your thoughts on Game 7 as well, and of course some Pistons. But thoughts on the KD to the Rockets trade? Quickly, sorry for those that missed it. The Rockets traded. Why am I blanking here? Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, pick number 10 for this upcoming NBA draft, and some seconds for Kevin Durant. What was your reaction, Matty?
Kind of surprised. I thought I did think it was a kind of a decent trade on both sides though. I felt like, I feel like people were quick to see what side got fleeced, but I thought, the Suns kind of got what they wanted and the Rockets obviously got what they wanted with KD. So
yeah, you know what? Like, I understand why the Suns are getting killed for this, but in terms of just because they kind of fumbled this whole KD thing. But
yeah, exactly.
In terms
KD, I know they gave up a lot, and in return they really didn't get a lot, and that I get.
So, but I think just for the actual deal that we saw today, considering the circumstances, considering every NBA team knows the Suns are desperate to get off KD before the draft. I think Dylan Brooks, I know he's a lot of people hate Dylan Brooks because of the way he goes about things. But one thing you can't deny is that he isn't, in my opinion, an elite defender on the wing. Like, he goes Memphis, I thought he was exceptional. Then he goes to the Rockets. I think he's kind of like, he's a player that in the playoffs, he can, we've seen him shoot teams out of games, but I think just regular season wise and what he brings, I think he'll help the Suns. And then I think Jalen Green,
that's for sure. Like you said, on the defensive end, for sure. That that's where he makes
exactly. And then I think Jalen Green, I understand, like, I've clowned Jalen Green before. I thought it was
I've been
never in Cade's, he's never in Cade's class. But honestly, I'm excited to see him next to an actual superstar. I feel like with the Rockets, he kind of was drafted to be the guy. He clearly can't be the guy. He's struggled in the playoffs.
Right, yeah, exactly.
How does he now look alongside Devin Booker, able to learn from him, able to be in an environment where he's not the number one guy. Like, there's no question about it.
Right.
Does he become a more efficient version of himself? Because I still think he's a pretty good player. I think he could just be a bust and it doesn't work out and he's just this sixth man. But I think there's some value there. And then I think pick 10, I think they got a decent haul. Obviously the Rockets now though. I'm glad KD's still in the West.
Yeah,
the Rockets
same, for sure.
I'm kind of excited to watch the Rockets because I think KD helps them a lot. But those were my thoughts.
Right. Yeah, I think it's definitely a solid trade for the Rockets. They got a good vet that, with basically what they didn't have in the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see how far they go next year. And like you said, I think the Suns got a decent haul. They got a young star, a decent role player in Brooks. They got a draft pick. And then what'd they get? 5 second rounders or something like that?
Something like that.
Okay, right. So they got, it's not like they got completely fleeced, but.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I was alluding to earlier. They should have, they tried to trade KD at the deadline, and that leaked out, and then they lost all their leverage in that. And didn't want to go to the Warriors. So that's where they fumbled it. I think with where they're at right now today, like I think the deal's not too bad. But when you zoom right out and look at the whole KD thing, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
But I think people killing him for what they got back today is a little unfair, because I think there could be some real upside there. But I think we've covered that one pretty well.
Right.
Do you have any thoughts on Game 7 and maybe even what the East now looks like next year?
Man, when Halliburton went down, that was tough to see, honestly. And you could see it right away. His Achilles just pop in his leg. So it was like, that's not good. But 3 players in one playoff run, all from kind of East teams that we compete with, is kind of crazy. That's really crazy.
It's actually insane. And I saw this other tweet. I'm pretty sure they all wear number 0.
Yeah, that was the other weird thing. It was like every play.
Hey, touch wood, I wear number 0 when I play basketball. So
man, we need you and Durant to knock on wood. That's for sure.
Oh man, yeah, JD's definitely more.
Oh, I'm even wearing number 0 right now, man.
I know, man. Bro, watch it. Don't move too quickly. Just take it easy for the next few days. That must be a Drummond jersey?
Yeah, it's a Drummond one.
Fire. But yeah, I can't watch injuries, but the ESPN showed it enough.
Yeah,
times.
exactly. That's ESPN for you. They show it over and over again. And then later in the game, showed it over and over again.
I know. But just watching him like tapping the foot, like he knew straight away, and it's just like
right. Yeah. You could always see it on a player's face when it's something major, and right away it's like, oh yeah, that's something major for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I missed up until that point. I think he'd hit 3 threes in a row or something.
Yeah, he
like
was bombing them.
You know, you have to be pretty sick if you're a Pacers fan. Like I do wonder, like if you're a Pacers fan, like because it's Game 7 of the finals, you probably rationalize in your head, like, okay, like this sucks, but if we win this, it'll be okay. Like I can deal with it. But obviously now they don't win it, and I feel like it would just sink in. Man, it'd be horrible.
The one loss that sticks in my head more than anything is losing Game 7 in the finals in 2005. Like, I will never forget that game. Like, we were heartbroken, like just silence after it was done. It was crazy.
Man, I still haven't really watched that final series, mate. I know the Pistons lost.
It was a crazy series, yeah.
It's imagine that, and then imagine if Billups in that game did his.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like if I was like, that'd be even worse.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Pistons will always have 0-4, so the Pacers obviously don't have anything to fall. But it's just, man, it's tough. And like Halliburton, my most disliked player in the league, Pacers most disliked team, but I have nothing but respect for them. Like that went away once they beat the Knicks, to be honest, and I just hate to see.
I'm right there with you. It took a while to really earn, my respect. Man, we as a fan base, we don't like them.
I know, but it just hit me. It's like, man, I was really looking forward to all those Pistons games next season, and now because I know the Pacers got the better of us in 3 of the 4 games, but man, those games were always like those are like almost the most. Sure. Yeah. So I mean, I guess that sucks. But how do you look now, like for our Pistons, like? Looking at the East next year, I went through it off the top, but I think everyone can figure out who's now missing for next season. Like, how do you feel?
I mean, it's crazy how wide open it is all of a sudden to where, like, man, if the right move is there, I think we definitely got to try to look at it. But I really like that Aldama move, the way Kyle broke it down. I would love to kind of make a move like that.
Yeah, I think that's the one that we can all. I just think there's that one could really happen. I do wonder though. Now Kyle brought up Zach Edey. I think he's injured. He's going to miss the first few months. Do they now have more an incentive to keep Aldama because their starting center is now out? But
right.
And I saw Zach Edey got not a DUI. He got caught speeding like 50 miles over
Man,
the
yeah.
speed limit. So I don't know. I don't know if that. You know what's funny about that's not speeding's not funny, but I was just like, I was thinking, imagine pulling over like this 7'8" guy going 50
Right,
miles over
yeah.
the speed limit.
Pull
Like,
someone over and a giant gets out of the car.
literally.
Because he's big. Like, NBA players are big, but he makes some of them look small. He's that big.
I would like to meet him just to see how huge he is.
Right.
But yeah, I do like the Aldama move. I think that one makes a lot of sense. And even if I was thinking even if he wants that starting role, I still think if he's signing a 3 to 4 year deal, there's you can clearly be like, Tobias is what we have for this season, but who knows after that season?
Right, beyond that, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that becomes his position. So I wouldn't think he has to start if they sign him, even though I do understand what Kyle was saying there.
Right. Yeah, I get that too.
But look, I'm going to cover the draft quickly before we wrap this up. But is there any other topics you want to chat about, Maddie? Anything else at the top of your mind with the Pistons?
Not a whole lot, really. Just waiting for the draft, wondering what we're about to do.
It's the draft's going to be interesting. I love the draft.
I forgot that it was on 2 days now, so we're going to have to wait for the second day to see who we pick.
I was just going to say, I like it all in one night.
Me too. I loved it all in one night.
It's just I like that it goes for 4 hours. I'll watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I used to watch, and I don't know why I loved the NBA draft. I'd watch it from beginning to end. You never know who's going to pan out and all that. So
it's so exciting. I don't know. What do you think makes it so good? Obviously, when your team has a top pick, you want to see.
Right, that was a big reason a lot of years, honestly.
Yeah, I think for me, there's suspense that there could be a trade coming at any moment. Teams trading picks. So that part's fun. Obviously, who your team selects, getting excited about that player, and they immediately become the future of the team.
Right. Just not knowing who's going to get drafted next and all that. Yeah, it's just I don't know why. I've always loved the draft.
And I think it's just fun seeing the reactions of the players, going up on stage or just realizing their dream.
The best is when you really want them to draft a guy and they end up getting him. It's like the Jaden Ivey year. I watched his highlights and I was like, this has to be the guy. If he's there at 5, you take him. And when we took him, I was ecstatic.
That was literally my Cade. I felt like we were probably always going to take Cade at 1.
That was so. Yeah.
Obviously, winning the lottery the month before was a crazy feeling. I haven't really felt, but on the actual draft day, when they got Ivy, or when I saw the Kings were taking Keegan Murray, that was the biggest rush of excitement I've had on draft day because I wanted Ivy so bad.
And I just felt like he fit here. He had all the history. I was like, this is the guy we have to take. I really hope.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why I've still got such an investment in him on the team. So I just think I was so excited. I just feel like there's still something really exciting there with him and Cade. But look, Maddie, I don't know if you've had much of a chance to look into the draft. Is there any players you would like to see the Pistons take? Is there someone maybe you'd like to see them try trade up for?
I haven't really. I meant to look at some prospects because I know the draft is it this Thursday?
Yeah, round 1's Thursday, and then obviously round 2 is
Friday. Yeah,
maybe it's
prospects.
Sorry, round 1 might be Wednesday and round 2's Thursday.
Okay.
Let me check that up.
But yeah, I know I've looked at a couple of guys. I'm just hoping we kind of get some size at that position, and I'm hoping we kind of don't go guard because we got a lot of guards that are pretty good. So
yeah, it's I think so. If we're looking at players that have size like a big man, a lot of people. So Maxime Renault from Stanford, that'll be a player they have to trade up for. He's a 7-footer, averaged 20 and 10 with in his last season as a senior. Can shoot the 3, do a little bit off the dribble. I know that's a guy a lot of Pistons fans would be stoked with if they could get him, but I think they're going to have to trade up.
Trade up a little. Okay, guys.
Yeah, to get him, it's probably going to be between that 18 to 24 range, I feel. Another guy is this is another trade up guy is Kolkbrenner. I think he's like 7'3" out of Creighton. He's just like a pure post up big. Like I think he's like 23, 24. Another huge like true 7. Like he's like 7'3". So that's another big guy. So there is definitely some options there. And then around pick 37, who else is there as a big man? Just trying to find my.
I know Broom is a guy that might be available.
Janai Broom. That's right, from Auburn.
I think he's like 6'11" or something like that.
Yeah, so he's like, I think he's like you can't jump.
That's what I've seen. Yeah.
Vertical jump at the combine went viral. But he's like another really skilled big. I think can shoot a little bit. Got some post moves, good touch. So that's definitely another guy. I think for me, I think a sleeper pick, or not a sleeper, but at pick 37, if they keep that, Alex Tui, he's an Australian. He played in our league at the NBL for 2 years. He could have been in last year's draft, but he withdrew his name. He's like a 6'8", 6'9" wing. The thing is, he'd play a similar position to Bobby Klintman. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there if they select him, but he can shoot it. He's probably a better like ball handler than Bobby. Definitely not a better passer, but he rebounds, solid defender, decent athlete. So that's a guy I'm interested in who could potentially just be like a guy that plays in the G League and could blossom into something really nice with the Pistons. There's also the last name I'll throw at you. He is a guard, but Tyrese Proctor from Duke. Sorry, I think I'm pronouncing it right.
Okay.
He's like 6'4", 6'5". He's like a combo guard, solid defender, 3-point shot, got really good or improved a lot in his third season. So those are some names, but I honestly don't know what's going to happen with this pick 37.
Right, it's hard to guess, like that late in the draft, kind of where we'll go, if we'll trade up or trade the pick or anything like that.
Yeah, because the interesting thing is they haven't really, from what I've seen from pre-draft workouts, Hoops Hype posts who they've had, the Pistons don't seem to have brought in many players to work out, or at least that have been reported. Like I know they've brought in Janai Broom.
Right.
Who else?
I've been seeing a couple
just loading
players
this here,
last couple days, but I can't think of their names. But they seem like guards mostly.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, they're brought in Chaz Lanier. He's another guy. He's a shooting guard, one of the best 3-point shooters in the class. But from what I've come to understand, that's all he really does. But he's an elite 3-point shooter. But yeah, it's interesting. I could just see them trading that pick, or maybe moving up, or maybe not taking anyone. We'll see what happens. Right.
Or another, draft and stash type player that I know we've taken in the past.
That's funny you say that. That's probably what Tui could be, Alex Tui. He could be a draft. I could see him being a draft and stash, playing another season down in the NBL here, while they maybe try to figure out what they have in Bobby Klintman this season. So
right.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think you're on the money there with a draft and stash. I could see that. But
we're drafting in the lottery, so it's a lot easier to kind of figure out who we're going to pick or where we're going to go. With this pick, it's kind of just up in the air.
I feel like every time I posted something on Instagram about pick 37, everyone's been, not everyone, a few people are like, Jack, we don't care. We don't care about the second round. I'm like, nah, look, I get it. It's definitely nowhere near as exciting, but
right.
You never know. Like you could get a really nice player in the second round. But yeah, Matty, anything else before I let you go, brother?
No, I think that's it. Glad the season was over. Congrats to OKC. But we're coming for everybody next season. That's for sure.
Let's go. I love it.
Let's
Get me the next season.
All right, Jack. Let's go Pistons.
All right. Catch you, man. Enjoy the rest of your night.
So later.
Appreciate you. Bye. All right. Thank you to everyone in the chat. I'm going to go through some comments now to wrap this one up. Who else? Have we got anything? Has anyone here put any second round picks, players they like? Shout out Cade Collector. What's going on, my man? Hope you're having a nice day or night, whatever the time is where you are. But let's go back to the top here. We're just going to scroll through these to wrap it up. My man Devon's here. Shout out Devon. I saw that you said you have to go to bed, but we'll have to get you up here soon. Like I was saying the other day on my last stream, after the Summer League games coming up and after the draft, I'm most likely going to go live doing a post-draft or post-Summer League game show. So plenty of opportunity for everyone to come up and talk Pistons. So excited to chat to you all. What else have we got here? James Williams could never move on from Durant. Yeah, I was watching back. It's just highlights, but watching back some of the highlights from the playoffs, like JD was someone I thought got better throughout that series against the Knicks. And of course, Cat had his moments where he made JD, he exposed JD, but, I think it's unreasonable to expect Jalen Durant to be able to defend someone like Cat to the level that someone like Isaiah Stewart does, just because he doesn't have the foot speed like Stu. And that's why we missed Stu so much, because we didn't have those 20 minutes of Isaiah Stewart to put on Cat. But I thought JD got better in the playoffs. His free throw shooting in game 6 was exceptional. His rebounding was solid. They took away him being a lob threat, but I believe in his passing and playmaking and his finishing. I think he's definitely a guy I'm excited to see to start the next season. What else have we got in here? Shout out to Trevor Newman. Trevor says, I really think we keep all the young guys this season. I think we wait until Jaden and Jalen are official on their extensions to make a trade like Jalen Green. I assume you mean like before we move on from Ivy and Durant, we have them signed extensions. Yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from there. For me, I just need to see this young core for up until the trade deadline next season before I'm making any moves. Hopefully they can all be healthy and we get a really good 40 to 50 game sample of what they can be, because after watching these playoffs, I just believe in them even more than I did probably at the end of the Knicks series. Ray Floyd, we have the most talented and gifted team in the East. Ooh, I like it. Bit of a hot take there. I submitted a question to podcast the other day, hoping they talk about it soon, about where do they have the Pistons young core rank. So I'll definitely post that when they hopefully talk about it, because I'm excited to see where people have the Pistons ranked now in the East, considering everything we know. What else do we have here? Joe B. On the topic of Troy, though, Troy's a tank commander. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Probably around 25-minute mark of this episode, with keeping an eye on the Pelicans, because for those that missed it, Troy Weaver is the general manager there. And if you're bringing in Troy Weaver, I think you're bringing him in because you believe in his ability to identify young talent in the NBA draft and really, help form the foundations of a young team. And look, Troy clearly didn't do an amazing job overall at the Pistons. But I think his draft picks were all pretty solid when you look back on it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the Pelicans do. I think they could be a team that's very active on draft night, and I could see where the Pistons been involved in some of those deals. What else we got in here? I saw someone bring up PJ Washington. I think it was Rod Love. We've got Rod Love to run through. Aldama or PJ Washington would be nice additions with LaRavia. PJ Washington's very interesting. Sam Vecini from the Game Theory pod, this is probably a month ago now, threw out the idea of Pistons signing and trading Dennis Schroeder to the Mavs and getting back PJ Washington. Mavs obviously get the point guard they desperately need without Kyrie there. Pistons get that backup 4 or starting 4, or depending what you think of PJ and Tobias. I think PJ Washington would fit really nicely. I think his skill set would be pretty good. It would be fit nicely with the other guys in the front court. Spaces the floor, and is a decent sized guy in the front court or wing to help on defense. So yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all. Trevor says, Jack, I'd love to be back next time to get on the show. Absolutely, Trevor. Like I said, we can I think what I'll start doing now is just dropping the link in the chat here. Obviously, for those that aren't aware, Pistons Jack subscribers over on Instagram, they will always come up first. But I will get to everyone who wants to come on the show. So, Trevor, would love to have you on, my man. Oh, this is good. James, yo, Jack, I filled in the Hawthorn League the other week and didn't realize you were like that. Need to sign you up. Did I play you, James? That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Which, I don't know if you're still watching, but let me know which team you played for. That's funny. I don't think I've only ever had one person actually recognize me playing basketball on a Wednesday, and that was a while ago. You were before me. We'll say what's up next time, James. Appreciate you, man. Well, I think that's gonna do it, guys. Great show. Yeah, like I said, I got Pistons Jack chats scheduled for recording with Hunter Patterson from The Athletic Tuesday night. That'll be out for you all on Wednesday morning. We're going to be doing NBA draft preview. We'll be doing some off-season stuff, some free agency stuff. So excited to chat with Hunter from The Athletic. And then we will have streams, I'm pretty certain, after each night of the draft. And yeah, then we have Summer League. So plenty of good stuff to come. Also going to be doing a big free agency preview with Kyle, who was on to start the show, who's a cap guru. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Plenty of stuff to come over at Pistons Jack. So appreciate you all watching the show. The off season has officially begun. And as always, go Pistons.